This is pretty crazy for Robert F. Kennedy to get on this ballot for the American presidential candidate run. So this is how many signatures he needs in his petition. Obviously, Trump and Biden for the Republicans and Democrats, apparently because they're a political party, parties apparently can get on there very easily, but it's to do with who's going to be the nominee for the political party. Then again, there's quite a few political parties in America, the Libertarians and the Green Party, that don't seem very popular, but it seems like they might have an easier ballot access by being proper political parties. I don't know why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just didn't start his own political party rather than being a candidate, just an independent candidate, unless he doesn't want a political party. Maybe he's had enough of political parties after from what Republicans and Democrats have been treating everyone. So look, anyway, there's another way to get on as well. It said there was a third way to get on, which that was what I was just looking for. Hold on. Ballot access for presidential candidates. Look, an individual can run as a write-in candidate. So that's a different method to petitioning. What is just basically you write into them and say, I want to be a candidate. Maybe some states let you do that. That's what I was looking for. I decided I wouldn't have, if it hadn't have said that number 3 there, an individual can run as a write-in candidate, I wouldn't have scrolled down any further, to be honest. So basically, they've just been messing RFK around with the procedures of political parties, how a political party chooses its candidates. They've basically rigged it within the political parties, basically. So it tells you how many signatures you need. Actually, I didn't think it was that. Some of them don't need many. This is ridiculous. I know some states are huge and they've got a lot more people, and other states are quite small in comparison. But so this is what it takes to get on the ballot if he's doing it that way, right? Starting with Alabama. So, signatures required. 500 signatures or 50 from each. It's saying here 350 to 500. $24 presidential primary filing requirement. 24 presidential primary. Alaska. Oh, look, you just pay to get on there. So you've just got to pay $2,500 and you can get on the ballot there, right? In Alaska. And also... signatures required 50, 500, 5,000, 2,600, 7,000. Okay, not quite sure why it's got... Oh, Alaska, Arizona, Kansas, why has it got it twice for some? So California, anyway. 26,000. I don't know why it says 26,000 and then 52,000 there, but that's quite a lot anyway, whichever it is. Because, like, if you think about... What I've been thinking about when I've been looking at this is, like, for example, that Stop Cop City campaign was massive and they had a limited time to do it in, but I think they got they needed about 60 to 80,000 signatures, but I think they ended up getting about 100,000. But they had to do it in a very short amount of time, like about a month or two or something. And I'm like, well, that's not too many signatures. I mean, look at Tess Lowry's petition in England. You know, she got 116,000 on that, but you get 6 months to collect it in. These can't, and obviously it was done online, you know, but in America, for some of these petitions, then they're not letting them do it online. They've got to get all paper ones, which is kind of ridiculous when you've got everyone's registered addresses and postcode on the computer. But anyway, so I guess that's quite difficult to do. I mean, 26,000 and 52,000, if you've got a limited time frame, it all adds up. But really, I'm starting to think like all these RFK petitions are almost like loads and loads of Stop Cop City campaigns. And the fact that he's calling it like, you know, he's using Bobby. It's like loads and loads of little Stop Cop City petitions all over. Some of them, look, 5,000. It's pretty cool. The ones that let you do it just to pay to get on there, I suppose that's pretty fair, really. I mean, if you either get votes or you don't get votes at the end of the day, I suppose it doesn't matter how much you pay to get on there if no one votes for you, you know what I mean? As long as you comply with all the advertising and promotional legislation. 7,000. Connecticut. Delaware. I'm not sure what it happens when it says unknown. 50. No one's calculated it. 56,000. Bloody hell. Where's that? Florida. That's a lot. It's still not. It's not. I guess. I mean, to get something debated in Parliament is 100,000 signatures. But saying that, no MP, no member of Parliament has ever seen 100,000 signatures to get themselves elected, which is kind of joke, really. So, I mean, 50 states. This is sort of kind of like it's the equivalent of basically. It is very much like sort of getting elected as an MP multiple times in different states, really. But still. I don't think any of these is 100,000 though. And to say that America's meant to be massive and bigger than England, you know. Oh, look. 2,500. I mean, some of these are different. They're not impossible. I mean, obviously he's got these teams volunteering in different states now. So I don't think any of them have to get 80,000. Obviously, the ones that have to get quite a lot. I think California is. He said that California is really difficult because that number is really high. These are all like a few thousand each. Some of them aren't too difficult to do. I think that California one's ridiculous. Where was it now? 52,000, but why does it say 26,000 and 52,000? I wonder if there's two different. I mean, don't they have two? Doesn't every county have two senators? I know that every county's got two senators. I wonder if it's something to do with like. I wonder if each state has got a different area, 2 areas for each one for each senator. I wonder if it's something to do with that, to do with like the electoral areas for senators, maybe. I'm not sure. So that's interesting. But anyway, what I don't get is this. What I don't get is how can all these different states have different laws and legislation for something which is a federal jurisdiction. The presidency of America in the White House is federal law, not state law. There are different laws in America. There is federal law, which is the whole of America, and the state law, which governs the states. So surely the presidential election campaign should be running under federal law, not state law. Surely state law should only apply to senators because they're petitioning the state for Senate. Still, there's a lot. I know that Americans have made their own laws up, but when they wrote the Constitution, the First Amendment, and they written things down in it, it had a meaning, and that entire meaning is not always like extrapolated in that amendment. You're just supposed to know what it means generally, right? And that is where most of the legal arguments come in, because when you write that Constitution and just when you write things in it, you gotta, it's sort of generalizing, like, the right to petition and free speech. You've got to know what they meant when they said that, and if they are adopting certain items and certain things from British law, then surely you need to know what that is and what that meant when you adopt it, so then you know how it applies and what the law around it is. And then when you're making further amendments and legislation to it, you know what I mean? And one of the things that I've found in American law that's rather unusual is that they were messing around with that federal question law. And I think that that's important for the jurisdiction for prosecuting petitions, particularly from bringing legal challenges against them for things like copyright. If you're using something as evidence in a case to the government, obviously police can seize whatever they want for evidence. Surely you can use whatever you want as evidence, even if it's someone else's material. And when people are challenging it, really, the federal question should be used then, can this person use my stuff or not? It shouldn't be a civil claim. I think that what happened is that because of, the wording in the First Amendment of, grievances, I think that Americans started to like bringing grievances against each other. They like fining each other. And there are certain things that you're not meant to fine each other concerning. And that's like, for when there's already a case engaged in, when there's already a case being brought, not intervening. And I think this whole, they were messing around with that federal question. They weren't too sure whether to give the power to the lower courts, and then they took it away from them. Then they gave it to them again. This is like the federal question. This is actually pretty much near identical or similar to this 1661 Tumultuous Petitioning Act jurisdiction, which is to do with, can you be prosecuted for petitioning or not, and through which courts? And apparently the hundreds courts couldn't be used. You don't use the hundreds courts. And if you're petitioning Parliament, it's under that jurisdiction. There was something about it can be courts in London, but I don't think that it's courts in London unless it is a local matter in London to a local. You see, it's almost like the difference between a petition to the local council in a local area or whether it's to Parliament. London is a physical area in space, but it could be something to like, Bexley Heath or, Islington or whatever over a matter of Islington. That's London area, but that's not the level of jurisdiction to do with like, Crown Court and High Court versus Magistrates Court or Supreme Court. In fact, in the Representation of the People's Acts, if people have committed fraud in elections or so forth, they were saying from these 1960s, well, if you prosecute for election fraud, you can't be prosecuted by common law. They would get fined, and obviously the election would have to be reheld, but it had to be prosecuted in the Supreme Court, and they couldn't be prosecuted at common law and so forth. Later on, they added in you can be imprisoned, but it definitely says that it's the high courts that you have to bring proceedings through, and that is to do with like the jurisdiction of Parliament and the equivalent of when you're bringing the case to. So, and that actually is quite prominent the whole way through. And I think that that's right. And I think in America, really, when they adopted the right to petition, really it means the same thing. And if you think about it, the 1700s is after 1661, you know. So I think that it's not just in England when they've been getting the law wrong a lot of the time. I think that, you know, in America they have as well. I think they've been messing around with that federal question law in the lower courts. But the problem is that when they give that federal question power to the lower courts, really what it meant is if there are any concerns or questions, well, questions around, you know, political rights, really, you know, can they be dealt with by a local court? But the thing is, well, I think that people started just, you know, like all these, you know, when people are doing political adverts and they're using people's material and so forth, and they're fining them, you can't really, you're not meant to do that. And certainly I don't think you should be able to do it through a lower court. The problem is that if you've got a candidate in America who is doing an election campaign and they're using someone's artwork or borrowed it, right, without permission, surely the question of can they or can they not use it without permission, that is a federal question, isn't it? Rather than I'm just going to sue you, because really I don't think they can sue them, because well you can't sue them. You can't sue them through the lower courts. And the whole point of that federal question jurisdiction is actually it's a part of the court which is meant to have a higher jurisdiction anyway. You know, there's something wrong about it. What it does is it encourages mistakes. It encourages more and more people to engage in things that they don't really know what they're doing properly. And that's the problem. And over here, there's definitely something going on. I mean, that Tumultuous Act wasn't abolished till 1986. And then you've got all this, you know, Gordon Brown messing around with the Appeal Jurisdiction Act, which, you know, that, you know what that coincides with? That coincides with them creating that Labour Party online petition website, you know. I realised that because, you know, that it was the Labour government who introduced the online petition website. And when you got the right to petition and you've got, you know, arguments over it, or if there's any incidents or any legal aspects you might need to raise to the House of Lords, really, you don't want to go to a court like the Supreme Court anyway. If you've got a matter being dealt with by the Petitions Committee and there's any legal issues that need to be dealt with, really you'd want it dealt with in Parliament, wouldn't you? Because, you know, if the Petitions Committee is in Parliament and the Lords are in Parliament, why does it need to go to, like, I know that the Supreme Court has 3 justices, but it's still not the same thing, is it, as when you got Parliament? Because, you know, it just, what's the point? If Parliament Petitions Committee is operating like a small tribunal anyway, with powers of summons and subpoena and so forth for its work, and really to enforce everybody else's work, and if, like the Inquiries Act, if there are any if there are any matters that need referring to the High Court, they can refer them. Well, the Petitions Committee might have matters that need referring for, you know, judgments, really. So surely it would refer it from the House of Commons to the House of Lords, wouldn't it, really? I mean, keep it in the same building. So I now, you know, working it out, the true reason, the real reason why Gordon Brown did that Appeal Jurisdiction Act, I mean, what happened at the same time? Well, the online petitions. And really, you can petition about anything. There is no law in the right to petition that says what you can and can't petition about, which actually means that you could petition about a legal case, right? But the thing is, what the Appeal Jurisdiction Act really is, appeals over orders that have already been made. It is a petition for a pardon, really, but that's the highest level. If you got prosecuted by the House of Lords, you can't appeal it. In the 1700s Act of Settlement, that's one of the things in there that you can't appeal. So basically, the House of Lords was the final and last appeal or appeal or pardon, if you see what I mean. So if you think about it, you could potentially get lots of criminals trying to get people to sign petitions to appeal for the release of prisoners and things like that. That would be legal through the right to petition. But then when they make up loads of absolute tosh, which says, oh, you can't petition about this or you can't petition about that. Well, and Standing Orders 1558, and that's the only law they've got that they reckon they're running on, it doesn't say anything about what you can and can't petition for. So they basically didn't want people... I mean, if you've been convicted and go to prison, right, your case has been heard, everything was done, through legal procedure. But then I suppose if you want to get released, technically, could you, request for, some of the case details to be made public and get the public to look at it and see whether they think that you were guilty or not. The general public, not just justices. I mean, if what if 3 million people signed something to say that someone should be released? I mean, could you have a referendum on it? Really, could all of the people of the country, say, for example, 3 million people sign for the release of Julian Assange? And override even a president or even override justices? And I think that is the area, that is the realm and kind of area, I think, really, that Gordon Brown and Tony Blair, with the Labour government, when they conjured up this online petitions thing, it seemed it's too coincident. It's too close to them pulling that Appellate Jurisdiction Act. It's too relevant. It's too important. It's too connected, relevant, important, and significant to, hey, look, now we've got online petitions. You can do this on the internet, right? It's too perfectly timed to, we're going to get rid of this Appellate Jurisdiction Act. So we don't need this anymore. Let's get rid of that. Now you can't petition for a pardon, to the House of Lords. What a coincidence. So you just pulled out the online petitions. This is it. So, Gordon Brown comes out smelling the roses like, oh, I'm a good man. I give to charities all the time. That's all I'm interested in. Well, you gave all this gold to charity, didn't you? You might as well just give it away. You gave all the gold reserves to charity, and now apparently gold and silver is going to be more valuable than anything when it's online currency. Like gold and silver is going to be worth, the earth. Apparently, gold and silver is going to skyrocket. This is it. This is what they're playing at. And they're stealing the power of the people and the power of persons' votes for these individuals, for these justices, for these, these ministers, and for the greed of the power and the greed of the profit and the money and the dictatorship, the control that they have through their organizations, and their new world order of consent, submit, accept. Consent, submit, accept. We didn't elect Google. We didn't vote for YouTube. We didn't vote for Facebook. We didn't vote for Mark Zuckerberg. It's almost like the Axl Rose song on, Spaghetti Incident at the end, didn't it? Like on Guns N' Roses, like, come and step into my world. It's a psychotic state of bliss. Never mind the real world. How many times you miss? It's like Zuckerberg, come and step into my world, It's like, come and step into my world. Accept, submit, consent. Consent, accept, submit. Come and step into my world. Apparently, Axl put that song on the album at the last minute, and apparently Slash didn't even want him to put it on there, and he was annoyed with it, and they fell out over it. It's like that. We didn't vote for any of these rules in the metaverse. Like Zuckerberg, come and step into my world. Accept, consent, submit. It's just like all these like making their own law up in their own realm. Everyone seems to be in a country with law. Yet apparently, these people are overriding legislation. I'm quite surprised they haven't actually got a cage fight with like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I'm quite surprised, in Facebook headquarters, they aren't actually headbutting each other and so forth. They've got their own metaverse rules. I'm quite surprised Zuckerberg hasn't got some sort of, not delegates, some sort of embassy. It's like an embassy. That's the word. I keep saying this, like he's got his own state. The United States of America. Zuckerberg's got his own like state, like where not even where his own laws, but it's not even that. It's like it's almost like an embassy, isn't it? Apparently YouTube cannot be prosecuted. Well, they can. Apparently YouTube, apparently in the YouTube building, apparently Neil Mohan can go around headbutting people because they're all immune from the law. Apparently Neil Mohan can, just nut people, just nut them because he's immune. We're all immune from the law. No, you're immune from certain laws like third-party copyright, but, not from actually breaking the law, committing a felony. This is it. The new embassies, aren't they? They're like the YouTube embassy, Google embassy. I'm quite surprised Julian Assange could have hidden in Google headquarters or YouTube headquarters and been immune. He could have. He might as well have got a job at Facebook with Nick Clegg. Could have smuggled Julian Assange into. I think Julian Assange could have, like on Tron, could have transformed into the metaverse and gone and hidden in the metaverse, and then he would have been immune from all the laws. I consent. I submit. I accept.